do it, man. I'm so excited to be here. Excited to break down YouTube for you guys, help you unlock a new channel of growth. I do want to say one thing first, though. I've been doing this a long time, been speaking a long time. I've never had a speaker before me or after me who came up and said, listen, I'm wearing aviators today because I got bucked off a bull. And I heard not once, but twice. Can we give it up for Nate? Like, that is the coolest. he's not even here to hear it. And so, mad props to that guy, super impressive. I want to get an idea of who's in the room here so I can tailor this content for you guys. How many of you are actively running ads on YouTube right now? That is a little more than most rooms, but still like 15% or something like that. Now, I know this is the DTC Growth Summit. All of this is going to apply to DTC for sure. How many of you guys are selling in retail stores, though, right now as well? That's less people-ish. Okay. So the cool thing is there's going to be a point in time in your growth when you need to unlock a new growth channel and probably new distribution channels, right? And the cool thing is YouTube may be the answer or part of the solution for both of those things. How many of you guys feel like, and maybe you've like woken up middle of the night, cold sweat, I'm too reliant on Meta? Anybody? Like way too reliant on Meta? I will say, long live Meta. I'm a huge Meta fan. We run Meta ads for our agency. It's an amazing growth engine, but I never, ever want to be too dependent on one channel, and that's just where we find ourselves in the D2C space. I'm going to unpack why, and I'm going to show you how to unlock growth on YouTube. Now, we've had the privilege of working with some amazing brands, so all of what I'm going to share with you, the creatives and stuff, are going to come from some of these brands. All the lessons come from these brands. Native Deodorant, partnered with Raindrop on that one. Arctic Cooler is going to break that down. Boom Beauty, Crumble Cookie. So taking these brands, scaling them on YouTube, that's what we do. We won some awards, got an amazing team. Consistently, for agencies our size, we're a top spender on YouTube. That's why we get invited to do the events like we're doing tomorrow at the Google offices, because a lot of people just don't understand YouTube and don't know how to make it work. We do, it's what we love, and so that's what we're going to unpack today and tomorrow. Now, I have never ridden a bull. I've never been thrown off a bull, but I may be the only speaker you've heard who has 8 kids. So this is my family. 8 kids, thank you, yes. It is chaotic and dangerous in its own way. I do think I get head injuries frequently, just not the concussive type, just more like what is going on in my life right now. But these are my kids. Not sure if you're counting, but that's 2 boys and 6 girls. And so it is chaos. Everybody's got a mind of their own, obviously, which is a good thing. I think this uniquely prepared me to buy media and to be in this space, because every channel has a mind of its own, every customer has a mind of their own, it's pure chaos. And so I mostly share that because I don't think you'll forget me now, but also I think it has prepared me for this gig, which is interesting. So as we look at YouTube, I think the reason most people aren't scaling on YouTube, aren't making it work at all, is because it's just so different, right? We found success on Meta, we found success on Google, tried a few things with YouTube, didn't really work, gave up on it, said it's for somebody else, right? But the issue here, we have to understand, before we break down kind of the 3 keys that I'm gonna unlock here, is that YouTube is just different. The way it functions, the way it works, the way you gotta approach it, it's all different. And so let's understand that. There's really 4 key modes that a user is in when they're on YouTube. They could be searching, right? YouTube is still a search engine. More searches are done on YouTube now than any other search engine not named Google. Streaming. It is a massive streaming platform which functions more like TV, but also scrolling. TikTok. They got the TikTok competitor with YouTube Shorts. That's growing like 70 billion views per day. And then people also shop. People shop and research on YouTube as well. So different modes, different ways to approach YouTube. This is really interesting. How many of you guys watch YouTube on connected TVs? Anybody, you or someone in your household watches YouTube? Yeah. So YouTube has been the leading streaming app for a couple of years. So it beats Netflix by a handy margin, and then you can add up Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus, Roku, Peacock. Add all of those up, YouTube's bigger than all of them combined. I know my kids, a lot of my teens and my younger kids, when we give them TV time, they're usually watching YouTube. They're not watching one of the traditional streaming platforms. It's also the #1 podcast network, right? So how many of you guys consume podcasts on YouTube? We like to watch our favorite podcasts on YouTube. That's a different mode of consumption than if I'm just scrolling and killing time on Meta. So it's a very different mindset. And this is super interesting. We're gonna, tomorrow at the Google offices, we got someone coming in, one of the YouTube product managers, and they're talking about YouTube affiliate. Anybody explored YouTube affiliate or heard about it? It's pretty new, yes sir. And so it's Google's answer, YouTube's answer to TikTok Shops. So it's brand new, we're testing it out with a couple of brands, it's going well. But the interesting thing here is I think TikTok Shop, like I've got friends that have used TikTok Shops to 10x, 20x their business, literally, not exaggerating. But then some brands, it just doesn't work for them, right? The TikTok influencer, the TikTok platform, it's not right for some brands. I think YouTube, if they get this right, which I hope they do, YouTube influencers are right for so many brands. And what people have said, and this is independent research, 98% of users say, hey, I trust my favorite YouTube creator over any other creator or influencer that I pay attention to. So YouTube creators just have a lot of influence and pull on their audience. So because, well, that's a weird, we got a hanging S here. I'm gonna pretend like this was on purpose. This is Jacques' green Lamborghini moment, which by the way, reticular activator, the other way that works, your brain's always looking for things that are unusual and things that are familiar. So going back to the car example, have you ever noticed you're in the market for something? I bought my wife a 4Runner a couple years ago. Before that, I didn't see 4Runners on the road. But then once I started shopping for 4Runners, I'm like, everybody's got a 4Runner. I see like 10 4Runners a day, right? That's your reticular activator system working for you. So anyway, because there are different modes, different screens, the creatives have to be different on YouTube, and there's not just one creative formula on YouTube. You have to mix it up based on the screen and the mode for the person consuming it. Because different targeting, different bidding, different algorithm, totally different than Meta. We can't bring our Meta campaign mindset to YouTube. It just won't work. It doesn't translate on a one-to-one basis. And then because of the way shoppers interact with it, the way shoppers like to buy, the way shoppers interact with the YouTube ad, you've got to measure it differently. And this is the part where people get frustrated, throw in the towel, give up, have misconceptions is they don't measure YouTube properly. So we're going to unpack that. And here's what I believe. It may not be the time in your growth trajectory for YouTube right now, but I promise you that over time it will be, right? You're going to reach a point of growth where you want to unlock YouTube. And I believe it could be the most powerful growth channel that you're not using right now. And so a couple of examples, I'll unpack creatives and some stuff here as we go. But anybody know Boom Beauty, Ezra Firestone? He's speaking at the event tomorrow, love that guy. But when we helped YouTube go from 0 to their #2 new customer acquisition channel, we created about 30% overall sales lift with that. And then of course grew direct conversions on Google Ads by a couple 100%. Dr. Squatch, I love this one. Really, that's raindrop there. Those creatives, they won YouTube ad of the year in 2020. What was kind of cool, and I didn't know this was happening until later, Jacques told me, but their media buyers were studying and learning my YouTube course. So Jacques' team was doing the creative, their media team was going through my YouTube ads course, and that's what helped kind of unlock some scale. So in a roundabout way, got to be a part of this story too, which is kind of fun. And then Native, we started working with Native when Moise Ali was still, the founder was still actively involved. I think they're doing about 100 million a year. Moise tweeted towards the end of last year, Native did $1 billion last year on about 20% EBITDA margins. So he says probably P&G's greatest investment ever. So we were along the ride there. We did all their Google and YouTube, and we created some strategies for them on how to use YouTube to grow retail sales, because that was part of the playbook with P&G. Like, hey, let's acquire this brand, let's distribute in all retail, let's see how we can grow this thing. It's worked quite well. So a lot of what we did here has influenced our strategies that I'm going to share today. All right, so key number 1, let's talk about nailing your creative strategy. So we've got to get this right. I love that example that Jacques shared, the Tide commercial. That ad was fine, right? It was good-ish. It was fine, right? You can take that ad, and if you're Tide, you could brute force it, and it would do pretty well for you, right? You can't take a bad ad, though, and brute force it. You just can't. And probably nobody here wants to take a meh ad and try to brute force that either, right? If we get the right creative that's designed and made for YouTube, it makes everything easier. And so there's some good news and bad news here that I'm going to break down for you. Let's talk creative strategies a little bit. The nice thing, and we heard a few people talk about this earlier. I've got some friends like Andrew Ferris and Taylor Holiday at Common Thread, and some guys I talk to a lot, that hey, for bigger meta ad campaigns, you may need like 1,000 creatives running at a time, or 3,000 ads running at a time. How many of you guys have multiple hundreds of ads running at any given time on Meta? Yeah, it's pretty common. I think that's like just the way it goes, right? The cool thing about YouTube is, one, you don't need that many creatives, and two, when you're first getting started, it really can't handle that many creatives. And just the way you test it, it doesn't learn as fast as Meta. So really, you only need 2 to 5 good concepts to launch with. And then as you're testing and iterating, it's probably about that many creatives each month. I just need 2 to 5 each month that I can spin up and iterate on based on what we're learning. And so it's not as creative hungry as Meta, which is a really good thing. Generally speaking, we don't see scale with shorter ads. So your 5-second, 15-second ads on Meta, not going to translate that well to YouTube. So you're going to need like 45 seconds to 2.5 minutes. Some of the ads we run for Raindrop are 3.5 minutes. We ran one for Arctic, which I'll show. I won't show the ad, but I'm going to talk about Arctic in a little bit. It was a NASCAR ad. It was 4.5 minutes, and it had one of the highest view rates of any ad that they ran. And so don't think about like typical time frames with ads. We do a lot of buying for, we got some traditional agencies that kind of outsource all their YouTube buying to us. And in the traditional world, everybody thinks in like 30s and 60s, right? Well, if I run a 30-second ad on TV, it costs me double to run that as a 60. Not the way it works on YouTube, right? YouTube is CPM based. YouTube rewards you for a better watch time. So sometimes we can run a 2-minute ad and have the same CPMs of a 30-second ad. So think about that just a little bit. Then you start looking at average watch time per impression and things like that. Those longer ads can be gold, and they don't cost you any more to run, which is really awesome. So this is where we recommend playing. I've never seen an ad under 30 that we've like scaled to the minute. It's always been 30 or higher, but I recommend you start 45 seconds or higher. Think this is like the simplest way to explain it is with YouTube. Think Meta plus TV, right? If like my Meta ads and a good TV ad, like laundry sauce good, not Tide good. If Meta ads and TV ads had a baby, that could fit, that could work on YouTube. That would be closer to a YouTube ad than either one of them on their own. So think production value. YouTube kind of has an appetite for production value because a lot of people do watch it now streaming. 50% of all YouTube views are on a streaming platform, so it feels more like TV because it's on TV. And so you can handle a high production value, which is really nice. I do recommend the 9:16, so that's the portrait type mode for shorts and for mobile. You need that dimension. And then 16:9 for TV and desktop. And still, actually, some people watch that dimension on their smartphone as well. So here is a simplified, and part of me hates to do this because I think the best creatives are often not formulaic, but the best creatives do have components that are similar, right? We have to have a hook. We have to interrupt our audience. We have to get that attention or nothing else matters. We measure this by view rate. I'm going to break down some creatives in just a minute. But often, if an ad is going to fail, we can watch it and understand it's because the first 5 seconds is a snooze fest, right? Or it's totally irrelevant to the product or a number of other things. But you've got to get the hook right. It's super important. The next thing is really, we need to see the product in action. We need to see a product demo. Now, that could be either we're actually using the product and we're seeing that demonstrated, or we're seeing someone's life as they're experiencing the product, Or it could just be something as simple as what we've seen with laundry sauce. Like, it's not that exciting to see someone doing their laundry, right? But you do see the pod, and you see the elegance of the packaging, and you hear them talk about how, effing good it is and stuff like that, right? That's still a product demo of sorts. Social proof, you almost always need this. This can be brief, this can be in the form of product reviews, this can be actual customers, this can be your UGC. I prefer an ad that's got some polish, and then we throw UGC into that ad as well. That usually works quite well. And then I think you also, this part can be very brief, but you need to find a way to overcome objections. There's always a reason someone's not going to click. There's a reason someone's not going to buy. What is that? Is it cost? Is it they're worried about pain? Is it they're worried about effectiveness? What are they worried about that is going to make them say, I better not. I better not click, right? I better not go check it out because of this. Understand that, overcome that in the ad, or at least address it a little bit, and then of course the CTA, the offer. What's so interesting to me is even after doing this now, I was doing like TV before this in the early 2000s. Sometimes I'm like, let's test the CTA, right? And I was recently looking at this ad from Arctic, and the whole ad was based around go buy this at Walmart, right? It's available at Walmart. The tag is like family walking out of Walmart carrying their cooler. It's a great ad, right? And so on this YouTube ad, we can see conversion rates. So we can see how many people click, how many people bought from that ad. What do you think the conversion rate of that ad was? It was exactly 0%. And it's one of those things where you're like, but people are just gonna buy where they wanna buy. Yes, that's true. But the whole ad was built around go buy it at Walmart. You click on the ad, it's gonna show you where to buy it at Walmart. So guess what people did? They bought it at Walmart. They did not buy it online. And so it was just a reminder to me like, man, what we tell people to do, what we ask them to do, that's what they're gonna do. And if you don't ask it, you don't say it, they're not gonna do it. And so you've gotta have this here, can't overstate that enough. But here's what's cool about what you're doing now. You're scaling on Meta. You got some cool video ads that are working. What we often do, especially if we're kind of helping map out this MVP creative for a client, is, hey, let's take that top performing paid social ad. That can be your hook. That can be the intro to your YouTube ad. You're gonna need more. You're gonna need more than that, but that can be your best hook for your YouTube ad, so that's a great place to start. I'm gonna play a few of these.
This is the 65 cord ultra tough Arctic cooler, and I actually put it to the test in quite a few fun different ways. And this thing is ultra tough. I'm April Wilkerson, and I'm a builder. I am always running and gunning, whether it be in my work or in my hobby. And I put a high value on function, durability, and high quality. And that's why I resonate with Arctic here, because they are overbuilt, but not overpriced.
All right, I hit play on that prematurely. That's okay. We're keeping the pace lively. What did you like about that ad? So just as a spoiler, that ad crushed it for us. I'm going to show you kind of how we use this for retail support in a minute. Break down our campaign approach. But that ad was one of our top winners. It was just unbelievable. What did you like about that ad? What worked about that ad? Yeah.
Immediately had to keep watching it. Like immediately needed
Yeah.
to see this.
Yeah. Kind of open the loop, like what's she gonna do next? What's gonna happen next? You sort of have to watch it. And that's what we found too. The view rate on this ad was off the charts on every platform. And so yeah, you have to watch it. What else did you like about it?
An HGTV vibe.
Yeah, it feels like HGTV. How many of you hear her and you're like, I'll buy whatever she's telling me to buy. Like I totally trust her. Anybody, this is kind of a younger looking audience, but anybody watch Home Improvement from back in the 90s? Yeah, exactly. Who did that? That was fabulous, yeah. So she's kind of like a female version of Tim the Toolman Taylor, but more trustworthy. Like you watch her and you're like, dang, April Wilkerson, like whatever you tell me to do, I'm gonna do. And so this ad just absolutely crushed it. The pace is good. We see her just beating the hell out of this thing, and it's working. It's holding up to the challenge, which is great. So I'm gonna get into the next ad now. I won't play all of this. This was another winner, and this kind of shows, this is more of the influencer style. I'm gonna play just a little bit of this one as well.
If you're looking for a wheeled cooler, this is the Arctic 52 quart ultralight wheeled cooler. I hauled it on a deck, I hauled it downstairs, upstairs, grass, gravel, sandy road, mud puddles, the whole bit. And I gotta say, It is pretty darn tough. There are some really nice touches and additional features to this Arctic ultralight wheeled cooler that you don't find on some of those other wheeled coolers. The other thing I like about this is that it's a reasonable price. Now, it's not a cheap cooler. It's also not the most expensive. This is a great cooler. And if you're looking for a new wheeled cooler that tows really nicely, this is a great option.
So another ad that just crushed it for them. And again, this campaign was more for retail support. I'll break down the campaigns in a second. But the engagement was off the charts. Actually, that one did lead to online purchases, which was interesting. It led to online purchases and Amazon purchases. I know it's online, but also retail growth as well. Fast-paced. This is something that a lot of people forget with YouTube. It can be long. It can be a long ad, but it does need to be pretty fast-paced. It is not. If you're ever watching it, previewing it, showing to people to kind of, test room or whatever, the point when someone starts to look at their phone or look around or yawn a little bit, like that's when you gotta pick up the pace, right? You gotta look for these points when someone is likely to lose attention. Now, this is one of my favorite editing styles for if you've got a lot of creator content, a lot of influencer content, how can you pull that into a format that's gonna work across YouTube, including on TV screens? So check this out from Native.
And to feel so hydrated and smooth.
I just love the fact that it keeps your skin moisturized all day.
With a new and improved formula.
And I just love how rich and creamy the formula is.
They provide a deep hydration with a lightweight feel.
Like it's super hydrating, but also lightweight and sinking to your skin super fast.
You're going to love it.
The formula absorbs in the skin so easily without leaving a residue.
And don't even get me started on how good they smell. It just smells so yummy.
And not to mention it comes with 7 of their best scents.
You smell good.
It's quite good.
So really a great ad because it takes content. All of these pieces worked well on social. These were all winners on Meta. Now running them individually on YouTube probably wouldn't work. It would work okay if it was just on YouTube Shorts. But what we said is, hey, if we edit it like this, it's gonna work on mobile, it's gonna work on TV, it's gonna work everywhere across YouTube. And so you mash those up, you add some graphics, you add some call outs, you string it together in a narrative, and that's an ad that just absolutely crushed for them. Then you can also do a vertical version.
To feel so hydrated and smooth.
I just
I'm
love the
not
fact
going to show
that
it, but
it keeps your skin.
it's one of those things where what we have to think about is, okay, how is someone going to consume this ad on YouTube? Let me edit it and craft it in a way that's going to speak to them and meet them on that platform in the right mode and the right mindset and all of those things. It's one of my favorite stories. This is super simple, but kind of goes, it highlights something that Jacques mentioned. And it highlights a really key point on YouTube. So this was a brand, New York-based brand that came to us several years ago. They were big on direct response TV and big on Meta. Tried YouTube, YouTube never worked. So I started unpacking their direct response TV ads. And they were surprisingly really good. Like they were working well on TV. But I noticed something. I noticed that the beginning few seconds kind of sucked. And so I was watching it and I saw this point in the 30 seconds in the ad. I was like, that's it. That is our hook. That's what we need to bring to the front. We had a couple other edits for YouTube, but that was the main thing we did. And so I just want to show you this hook. This is the principle where you want to start high or zoomed in. Like start in with the good stuff. Don't do like a lead up, build in, slow leading into an ad. Like you gotta start high. So check out this opening. I'm not gonna play this whole ad because it's kind of long.
This was a bald spot. And now look at this. I have more hair, which is all due.
So it's one of those things where it's like, hey, do you suffer from hair loss? Do you have these issues? Yada, yada. That was like the original lead-in. I was like, no, let's not do that. This is an attractive, well-spoken lead. She's like, this was a bald spot, right? And her hair is not bald. It looks great. It's thick. It's full. And then it goes into a kind of a before and after slider thing. That unlock, so it was like a 2.5 to 3 minute ad. Watch time was insane, click through rate was insane. This one was all D2C, so they were like, hey, we sell on Amazon, but let's focus on D2C. So we were getting direct purchase conversions at their CPA target with that ad. I'm actually gonna skip this one. This shows a principle that I really like. It's called split screen UGC, where like, we get a lot of vertical content. You can just show the product and show some other features on that other side of the screen to take some of your vertical content that's winning on social and translate that to YouTube. Let me see if I can skip ahead here. Nope. There we go. Okay, so this is the part of that creative that I love. We love partnering with teams like Raindrop we love the creative feedback loop process. This is something that if you don't have, you're gonna have to get with YouTube, where as we're running YouTube, the data is gonna let us know what to do next. So you need a creative feedback loop. The good news is, like I said, you only need maybe 3 to 5 new creatives a month, kind of depending on your spend level on YouTube. If you're spending a lot, you need more than that. But to start, you don't. And so these are some things we look at. Ultimately, we usually break it down into these 3 elements. I know I gave a little bit larger creative formula, but typically if the ad is failing, it's failing in one of these 3 areas, right? If the view rate is subpar, if the view rate is below average on the rest of our ads, and depending on the screen that it's showing on, we gotta rework the hook, right? That's just it. If people aren't clicking or aren't buying, it may be that we just didn't answer all their questions, and so the product demo needs a little work. Or maybe they're not clicking because there was no good call to action or no good offer at the end of the ad. And so we really need to understand all of those things to be able to say, hey, this is what we need to test next with these ads. And this is where we've seen stuff like with Arctic as an example. They did a partnership with NASCAR and they had this really long ad. And I was like, I don't know, guys, like, let's test it, but I'm probably not gonna do that great. It did really well with men and with women. This room really indexes dudes as well. So thank you, ladies that are here. You're balancing the force in this room. We need your presence here. Any ladies here NASCAR fans? So this NASCAR driver, he's kind of attractive. Maybe that's why. He's a pretty good looking guy. I don't know what it was, but like women were watching this NASCAR ad as well. So as we watched, we're like, let's lean into this guy more. I don't know, I thought this was gonna suck, but it didn't. And so the data is gonna tell you what to do next. You've gotta have this creative feedback loop. A lot of people just run ads and think, it didn't really work, I don't know, so let's move on. Okay, number 2, we've gotta craft our campaigns to work towards the strengths of YouTube. And so I'm gonna kind of talk about what your different objective might be and how you're gonna structure this a little bit differently. I still recommend, I know the trend with Meta is like wide open targeting, let the algorithm do the work. You are gonna wanna lean into the YouTube algorithm as well, but we found that starting with custom segments, custom audience that we're giving YouTube, it's the best place to start. It avoids a cold start, it informs the algorithm a little bit, and so our favorite custom segment is based on users' search behavior. So this is one thing that Google has, that no other platform has, right? They've got unbelievable amounts of search data. You can package that up and say to YouTube, I want to create audience segments of people that are searching for these things online. Either they're searching for my competitors, which one little twist there is I like to build audiences of people that are saying competitor X versus competitor Y, right? Because then that shows they're in market, but they haven't made a decision yet, right? Or solution for whatever it is that I solve. So you start building these audiences based on someone's Google search behavior. That's a great place to start. DG is demand gen. It's like the new kind of YouTube conversion focused campaign. We definitely lean into those. But if you're doing something where you're a native or an Arctic, or you're trying to grow sales in retail stores, then we go with view-based campaigns. Jacques talked about low CPMs. We're sometimes seeing CPMs in like the $5 range with really good audiences, really good engagement, really good click-throughs. Not great conversions because the campaigns aren't set up that way, but insanely low CPMs. You're maybe doubling or tripling the amount of views and the amount of impressions you get for the same money, and you can still be really laser targeted with your audience. And then you got to measure according to the campaign, right? So a view-based campaign isn't going to have larger conversions because it's not aiming to do that, and so you got to measure it accordingly. So custom segments are really important. If we're doing retail sales lift, this is kind of how we do it. We're going to lean more to video reach campaigns and video view campaigns. That's going to take up the majority of our budget, but a little bit of conversion-focused campaigns to get those people that just prefer to buy online to kind of close them. And then we're also going to understand that, hey, probably TV is going to be our most effective mechanism here. One, the CPMs are better on TV, the engagement rates are better on TV. Half of all YouTube views are on TV screens, as I mentioned a minute ago. So generally in a campaign like this, we want to try to influence 50% of the budget going to TV screens because it just works really, really well. Overall sales lift, it's going to look pretty similar to the retail sales lift. And then if we're looking at just D2C, then I'm flipping the percentages. I'm mostly going conversion-focused campaigns, but then I'm using that low-cost reach, low-cost engagement to really further my impressions, to further my reach, and just kind of compound what we're doing with those conversion-focused campaigns. That tends to work really, really well. So we talk about Arctic just really briefly, because I think there's some good lessons to unpack here. So this was a retail case study. Jacques and I spoke at this event in LA a couple years ago. Arctic was there. They said, hey, can we use YouTube to grow sales in Walmart? We're now in Walmart's coast to coast. Can we use YouTube to grow there? I said, of course, as we did for native. So these are the primary objectives. Measure Walmart sales, search lift in-store visits, you track in-store visits actually, and then post-purchase surveys. That's a key that a lot of people miss with YouTube. This is one of the coolest tools that we can unlock for your brand. You have to work with a Google rep directly, but it is free. Talk to me if you want one of these. But basically, this is all based on Google's search behavioral data. But it measures where your category has high and low demand, broken down by TV, DMAs, or designated market areas. So wheeled coolers as an example. Where is there high demand based on search behavior? Where is there low demand? And then where does your brand have high demand and low demand? And so then we look at these quadrants of yellow is where we generally focus, but not always, where we say like, hey, people want our category big time in these areas, but we're under indexing. So now we've got to solve this awareness problem and this product positioning problem and branding problem in those areas, and we can see sales increase. And so, and then you can like measure this before a campaign, after a campaign. It's pretty interesting to get that data. Here's what we saw with Arctic though. We did about an 8-week study, 8-week test run. We ended up getting all their business after it, but 230% mobile search lift. So one of the other ways, and this is heard this quote from Procter & Gamble, one of the greatest signs that your advertising is working is that more people are searching for you by brand name. And so Google will actually do these studies. They'll do these for you, but we created 230% branded search lift from these campaigns, and then a big search lift across YouTube search as well. And so this is just to look at one of the regions in the country, but 25% measurable sales lift. And we did some test and control markets. They also did a streaming test and control market series. We crushed streaming TV. They showed 0 lift on streaming TV. YouTube was one of their greatest overall lifts out of any test they've ever done. Won a Google Agency Excellence Award for it, which is really cool. But this really then unlocked YouTube as a primary growth lever for Arctic. Okay, last thing, and then a little bit of time for Q&A. So you gotta measure the true impact. Again, this is where a lot of people fall short or just don't see it with YouTube. They don't see the true impact, so let's talk about this. The real results may be 3.5 times better than what you're seeing. So you're looking in platform, you see a 0.3 ROAS. You think this sucks. I hate this, I hate YouTube. My client's gonna hate me if I'm an agency. But probably your results are as much as 3.5 times better than that. Let's talk about that. Anybody watching Andrew Ferris's podcast? Love that guy. I did a follow-up interview after this one to talk more about YouTube, but this is Olivia Corey with House Analytics. They did the biggest YouTube incrementality study that's ever been done, 74 brands, 190 individual incrementality tests. This is where we're doing geo holdouts. These are with brands like Ridge and AG1 and things like that. They're spending 30% of their overall budget they're spending on YouTube. So not just like dabbling or spending $10,000 a month, like they're spending real money on YouTube. And they're selling in multiple channels. But here's what they found is that, hey, the incrementality factor, if you're seeing a 1 ROAS in platform, the actual incremental ROAS was a 3.4 instead of that 1. If you're selling in multiple channels, then you can add another point to that. So you're selling on Amazon, you're selling in retail stores, take that to a 4.5 almost. In-platform underreporting by the tune of about 70%. And you gotta think, and I can say this a little more clearly today than I will tomorrow when I'm speaking at Google, but why does Google suck at tracking YouTube? There's a few reasons actually that kind of let them off the hook a little bit, but this was the incrementality factor range from 1 to 10. So some brands saw a 1 ROAS in platform for YouTube and they were getting a 10 based on these incrementality holdouts. Just because YouTube is very incremental, it's hard to measure, but it's very incremental. And mostly new customers. 76% of the customers generated were net new to the brand, which is highly incremental. So why is that? Nobody clicks YouTube ads, right? Think about that. When was the last time you clicked a YouTube ad? You probably haven't, right? If I'm watching YouTube, I'm watching for a purpose. This is my favorite podcast. I'm consuming it, or I'm watching a Mr. Beast ad with or Mr. Beast video with my family, whatever. I'm not clicking the ad. 50% of views are on TV screens. So multiple platforms, multiple logins, multiple viewers. We've done this a number of times. It's one of the only platforms like this where you're looking at online ads. We'll sometimes, I know I've got a big family, so I index kind of high there, but we'll watch a Mr. Beast video with 6 people watching it, right? That's tracked as 1 viewer, tracked as 1 impression or whatever, but it's really 6. So there's certain things that kind of stack up where it's like, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to measure YouTube and kind of hard to see the full impact. This is our friend's Bestie post-purchase survey. Highly recommend that you do these. They're not foolproof, but they do add another element of insight. So this was when they were not spending hardly any money on YouTube. They were asking people, how did you hear about us? How did you find out about us? Then they did a study where they were like, hey, but where do you go when this was a makeup brand, where do you go when you're looking for makeup ideas? So look for that next inspiration, where do you go? And YouTube was the number 2 source. So like, wait a minute, what if we flipped our spend to be closer to this? Wherever people like to find their skincare tips, let's put more of the budget there. So they flipped it, they like tripled their YouTube spend, and then this was the next round of surveys they saw. YouTube now is the top source for this is where I found out about product. I won't talk about that just for the sake of time. But really the lift trifecta, so this is what we recommend. So do the post-purchase surveys, then look at these 3 things. Brand lift, so are people more aware of my brand? Google will do some studies for you. Search lift, again, Google will do this for you. It's a user holdout study, it's scientific. It's gonna show, did this ad cause more people to search for you or did it not? And then look for overall sales lift. And then happy to kind of break this down for you, do a YouTube readiness audit and kind of look at your specific situation. It's my contact info, would love to connect. But do we have time for Q&A? Okay, that's great, let's do it.
Shout out, Brian. So as I mentioned a little bit before, I wish we almost had this right after Jacques, because I think this would answer a bunch of different questions for everybody. So as you were going through, you got to it. I had your house analytics. I was wondering, because you were saying in platform measurements, you have to think about the metrics differently, things like that. Mm-hmm. How can some of the people here get into that? What's your best recommendation? Is it just leaning on their Google rep to do the brand lift studies? And at what amount of spend do they have access to a person who will do a brand lift study for them? Because I know that there's different middle market, this, that, et cetera.
That's great. What's really cool now, so of those lift studies, I put a lot more weight into search lift and sales lift or conversion lift. Like those are better, I think, because you guys see the surveys that pop up on some YouTube ads where like, hey, have you seen an ad for this brand or would you consider? So that feeds the brand lift data. It's survey based. I think it's a little bit, some errors that can pop up there. But the cool thing now is you can run all of those lift studies at one time. Generally speaking, Google wants you to spend about $1,000 a day over the course of about 2 weeks to 21 days. So it's kind of somewhere in that range to get one of those studies. So it's not crazy. And you can actually run some of those studies concurrently. They don't charge you for the study, they just want you to be spending enough to give them good data. So what I recommend is, House Analytics, they're like the pros, they're some of the best in that space, they're expensive. So you don't probably need to start there. Look at running a search lift and a conversion lift study with Google, they're free. Then you can also just look at things like, hey, I'm running a brand campaign, which we unpacked why that's a waste, but why you still kind of need to do it. How did those brand campaigns grow as I started running YouTube? How did my direct traffic increase when I started running YouTube? How did my Amazon sales increase when I started running YouTube? Actually, one of the screenshots I skipped was, we had a big brand, we were running their YouTube brand, their Amazon. They had to pause YouTube for a little while because of some tracking issues. When they did, we had full access to Amazon. Their Amazon branded search got cut in half. So branded search on Amazon cut in half, we paused YouTube. It's one of those things where it's like, you gotta look at all these things, you gotta look at all these channels.
And I think that's a key metric right there is like check your revenue, right? Watch what's happening, things like that. But I'll say from my side, I still don't have a Facebook rep that cares about me at all, right? And I spent $80,000 yesterday, right? But I've had Google reps since I was spending about $3 million a year. They've invited me in, given me YouTube experience stuff, how to best make my organic content, positions. I've had people build me campaigns if my team was overstressed. Ultimately, we go in and make sure it's built appropriately. We're taking out brand segmentation, everything else, but they'll do the framework. They'll help us put in things. Google wants to win some of these dollars that you're spending in other places. And I think the halo effect has always been given to Facebook. But it sounds like in your experience, anecdotally and otherwise, there is now definitely a halo effect inside of Google. How can you rank some of the different placements inside of Google as priority, right? Demand gen that you just talked about is relatively new, right? You can also do masthead takeovers when you spend a certain amount of money. You can get into some other things where you can have Mr. B say, now a message from my friends, over at Raindrop Agency, and then in commercial plays. Like, how do you rank where people should start? Like, where's the best bang for their buck to begin, all the way to once you're a much bigger company, this is where you should go?
Well, it's a great question. One thing I'll also mention is, we've also seen is so yes, YouTube is incremental. When you start reaching certain levels of spend within YouTube, Meta usually gets better as well. So like you're creating this overall impression lift and new users, and so Meta gets better as well, which is kind of cool. So if I'm starting out on YouTube, I'm mostly leaning into demand gen campaigns that are conversion focused, and I'm leaning into just YouTube properties. So you can, in your campaign settings, you can let YouTube go nuts, and like you can reach video partners and things like that. I just want to be on YouTube. So I want to be on the YouTube app, on mobile, on desktop, on tablet, on TV. That's the place to start. We see more success across mobile, non-shorts mobile, and TV, and then desktop. So we see more results there. I would do less. So masthead takeovers, don't do that. Like don't do that until you're really huge. And I wouldn't run like bumper ads, like those 6-second ads. We've done that to sometimes when we're trying to get low cost reach for a bigger brand, we'll do that. But if you're just getting started on YouTube, don't do bumper ads. They're just a waste, right? You're not gonna get any conversions from that. And I would actually deprioritize shorts just a little bit for most brands. The exception to that is if you're killing with TikTok ads. The cool thing is you can pipe those directly over to YouTube Shorts. So depending on the brand, I may be like, YouTube Shorts probably don't work very well, but for some of you, they work great if TikTok is crushing it for you. So I would rank those. My buddy Sean Frank at The Ridge, he came on my podcast a number of years ago, and he was mapping out like, this is how we find influencers on YouTube to just talk about our product in their ads. This is a Fortnite influencer, this is a camping influencer, 4x4 guy, whatever. And we just want him to talk about Ridge in the video, and then we'll pay him for that. So the cool thing is that's what YouTube affiliate is unlocking, so you can do that without as much manual work as what Sean did. So I would put that right up there as well if you get the team to execute on that.
So people can understand YouTube affiliate a little bit more. You can tie into actual creators already on the network. When that piece of creative goes out on their channel, it natively you get access inside of the ads manager. So then you can pipe that directly in your ads. So where instead of having to download something else from someone else, it already is being served to you, the platform, you can just natively get right into it.
And you can facilitate commissions being paid. So it's like they tag your product, they post a video, you see all the metrics, you can pay them easily, and then you can turn that into an app. Yeah.
Perfect.
Hey, quick question, right? Great job. It's like the fourth time I've seen you, every time I'm like, oh, you do today tomorrow. So, question for you is, since there's an attribution issue that's fine with YouTube, is what are some of the things you use to make kill decisions on your creative stuff?
Yeah. So it's such a good question. So there's anybody like the movie Moneyball?
Of course.
The book. I just listened to the book again. It's such a freaking good book. It's so good. So there's this one part in it where this Bill James, who kind of created Sabermetrics, this new way of looking at baseball analytics. He inspired this guy who was looking at pitchers, and he's like, you know what? ERA, earned run average, kind of a sucky metric, because after a ball is hit, there's like a lot of randomness, like so that it can lead to runs and stuff. There's like the three things that a pitcher can control: strikeouts, walks, and home runs. That's all a pitcher can control. They can't control if the outfielder drops the ball or whatever. None of it. But anyway, so we were like, hey, that applies to video ads as well. So there are really three metrics that only a video can influence, right? These are not the metrics you ultimately want, but they indicate, does this video ad work or not? One is view rate, the other one is click-through rate, and the other one is average watch time per impression. All of those things, only the video controls those. So I'm gonna look at those. So a couple things that I would look at first, and we've seen this a few times where we're like, hey, the view rate is below average for this account, but across all the accounts we look at, and we're trying to get direct conversions, the CTR is low, and our CPC right now is $6. We're paying $6 for someone to click on this ad. that is never going to matter, right? That's never going to work. I can't get $6 clicks and get this thing to work. So why is that? Is it the hook? Is it the product demo? Is it my targeting? Something like that. So I'm looking at view rate, I'm looking at click-through rate, and I'm looking at CPCs, all those kind of tied together to say this ad is not going to get there. It does take a little bit of time though, especially if it's like cold start, YouTube has no data on you, you haven't been running this very long, it does take a little bit of time. You don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars or anything like that, but you need to give a little bit of room for a video to understand it. But I'm looking at those individual view-based, view and click-based metrics to say, okay, this ad sucks. Either I got my targeting wrong or the ad's off base. Great question.
I have a question about that. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm with Phosphor. We're a full funnel measurement company, but also work with YouTube. We see that basically most companies we work with are way underinvested in YouTube and Meta and TikTok. And it's driving a lot more sales than they can measure across Amazon as well as their website. I wonder, are you seeing any difference in terms of how different types of products and brands have to invest in brand and trust before they see the sales come through? We're all fun for people.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So people underspending on YouTube, but also even on some other platforms like TikTok and Meta, how long do they have to commit to that to see that sales lift on Amazon or other channels? I'll talk about a few things. One, that House Analytics study, as they ran that, I believe that was like a 1-month test, and they saw like a tail on that where even after they stopped running the ads, they continued to see a sales lift. But the lift did happen relatively quickly, you know? And so, I mean, I used to sell TV and radio, and we'd always be like, hey, you gotta commit to 3 months, right? That's when you'll see the real impact. There's probably some truth to that. Like, things will start compounding and getting better over time, but you should still see some activity pretty quickly. I think even in that first month, if you're not seeing a lift in views, direct conversions, clicks, like some meaningful engagements and a few conversions, then there's probably something wrong there. But all that said, we still require like, hey, are you willing to give YouTube a 3 to 4 month test? Not to spend all your budget or not to go crazy, but you gotta give it some time because we gotta experiment and test a few things as well. So it's a great call out. I think you'll be able to see some results even in that first month, but probably the greatest results come in 3 months in.
For us, what we find the lead indicator to sales is much more branded search.
Branded search, yeah.
Much more deeper website engagement.
Yeah.
So you start seeing those go up and step up.
Exactly, yeah. Someone searches you by brand name, then you're gonna see a lift in sales at some point. Yes, sir.
Real quick before Leo goes,
Yeah.
also Google Trends. If you guys aren't using Google Trends, look up your brand, look at it as a topic, look at it as a search term, track and see over time. 100 means you're currently at the most volume your brand has ever had, right? You can see how that is going. You should be tracking that. I look at it every day, multiple times a day. You can also compare against competitors in your industry. You can look at the industry as a whole. You can see where you stack up. So like that's free. Just trends at Google.
Great way to see brand lift. It's free and it's powerful.
And
Love
that's
that.
when you're investing in branding, right? If you see that continues to go up, your brand is resonating across people who are searching, even if they're not making their way to your website. People are interested, and then they may be shopping in these other channels. Leo, last question, and everybody can eat.
Also, hey, did everybody give Leo a hand? Because he's
Leo,
on
shout out Leo.
Yes.
This whole day wouldn't be working without Leo.
And a shout out to Leo's shirt. I love that shirt. It's awesome.
So, to quote Alex from a while ago, she said, for fashion brands, it's like syllabi. See it like it, buy it. And Patty made the point earlier today about the distinction specifically about fashion versus product solution brands. Almost all of the stuff that I've seen from you or from Jacques really has been problem solution focused, right? People, feeling better. And I think fashion, and not fashion, it's a little bit unique. And I know, John tested TV. I don't actually know how that went for him. But can you speak about that particular distinction about the things that are really see like a buy it versus you have to explain what the hell it is.
Yeah. So really interesting. I think YouTube can work for a wide variety of brands, especially because if you look at like, hey, this is TV. So what kind of products can you advertise on TV? Almost anything. But if you were saying the stage we're at in our growth, we need to see a direct return, like people clicking and buying from this ad. Almost always those are product solution ads, right? So we're running demand gen, conversion focused campaigns. We rarely see apparel work for that unless it's like, this is really unique apparel. So I'll give you an exception. Sweet Flex, client of ours, yoga pants, really good looking yoga pants. I'm wearing them under my, I'm just kidding. I don't know where that came from. But yoga pants, but they've got like bands in them. So as you walk, you get a little bit of a workout in there. So it's like, wear these pants, that's the equivalent to a 30-minute gym workout every day, right? That's apparel, but also with a really unique angle. That does well on YouTube. I think if you're purely fashion, boutique type of thing, I would lean into more view-based stuff because it's really hard, I think, for the algorithm to say who is looking for this type of dress or this type of blouse or this type of, leopard shirt or whatever. I don't really know. Like, Meta seems to be way better at that for a conversion campaign. So if you're like a fashion brand and you're like direct conversions right now, I would lean way more into Meta. But I do think if you got a unique message there, you can lean into YouTube more for view-based campaigns to kind of further everything and get some low-cost reach. So great question.